information. We will generally deal with each application according to the order of the agenda. Extra copies are available on the back table. If there's anyone present who wishes to speak to in support or against an application, as well as anyone with questions or concerns, will have an opportunity to speak. The committee will make their decision following each application. If there's anyone present who is not an applicant or agent but is interested in the decision of the committee, you may file your interest with our Secretary-Treasurer. Please list the file number, your full name and mailing address. Copies of the decisions are automatically sent to the applicant and agent within 15 days of today's meeting. Only the applicant, the minister, a specified person, or any public body may appeal decisions in respect to applications for consent or minor variances to the Ontario Land Tribunal. The decisions are final if there are no appeals 20 days after the committee's decision. May I remind everyone we are being recorded. To mute your devices, as well as if you wish to speak to an application, make your way to the podium, ensure the mic is on, and state your name for the public record. First order of business is to determine if any members have any disclosures of pecuniary interest. Are there any? And we have Phil and Linda online, I see, and welcome. And you're good, okay. All the members received the minutes of the previous meeting. Are there any errors or omissions? If not, I have a resolution before me. Can I get a mover and a seconder to adopt the minutes of January 23rd's meeting as circulated? Councillor Van Passen. And a seconder? Adam, thank you. All those in favor? And that's carried. Our first application to be considered is, let's see, file number ANPL 20244306, Scott and Joanne Utter. And the planner can give the report, please.
How's that? Oh, that's better. Okay, sorry about that. All right, let's start again. Through the chair, an application has been received seeking relief of 21.2% in lot coverage to allow for the construction of a cottage with a lot coverage of 36.2% in the RR zone. The subject lands are located on the western side of Cedar Drive, south of its intersection with Reserve Street. The area of the subject lands is approximately 688 square meters, with approximately 18.29 meters of frontage on Cedar Drive. The subject lands are currently occupied by an existing boathouse. The lands are designated and zoned as resort residential, as per the official plan and the zoning bylaw. This application seeks to facilitate the construction of a vacation home that was presented to the committee at the December 2024 meeting, at which time it was deferred to allow the applicant the opportunity to provide an appropriate septic plan. I will note that updated technical comments from building have been received and are regarding the septic plan that has been provided, as well as updated mapping that shows the increased front yard setback proposed to accommodate it. There's no impact to the relief being sought due to this change, and building has confirmed that the proposed septic system appears to be able to fit on the property. Vacation homes are a permitted use within the RR zone. However, comments from the LPRCA have noted that the access road to the subject property can experience flood depths of over 1 meter per approximately 2 kilometers to access or egress from Turkey Point via Turkey Point Road. This is greater than what is considered safe by the technical standard, and as such, the proposed development is not consistent with the PPS. In addition, the proposed relief is over double the permitted lot coverage of 15%. This is a significant requested relief and cannot be considered minor in nature. In summary, the proposal does not meet the 4 tests of a minor variance and is inconsistent with the Provincial Planning Statement 2024. Staff do not support this application and recommend that it be refused.
Okay, thank you. Is there an agent or applicant? Okay, I'll get to you in a second. Is there any questions of the committee to the planner? And the agent or the applicant? Do you have any?
I have,
Okay, go
I
ahead.
have a question.
Go ahead, Linda.
So in the planning report, it doesn't talk about the design guidelines for the special policy area. And I'm just looking at that in reading the lot coverage in the design guidelines. It says a standard of 15% lot coverage should be maintained in resort areas. And then it goes on to say, in specific cases, a higher 30% lot coverage may be considered appropriate as such as those properties that back onto a channel. So I'm just wondering if the planner took into consideration the design guidelines that talk about channel properties being up to 30%.
Through the chair, that was an oversight on my part. I do apologize for that, and with that being in consideration, this would be considered minor in nature, and therefore would likely meet the 4 tests of the minor variance.
Thank you.
So to be clear, it does meet the 4 tests with that change?
With that being in mind, it would most likely meet the 4 tests of a minor variance. So.
Okay, thank you. Does the agent or applicant have anything to add? Nothing to add? Okay. Is there anyone present that wishes to speak to this application? Hearing none. Any other questions of the committee to the planner or the applicant? Councillor Van Passen?
I'm not sure if it's a question, but again, the comments from the LPRCA that were not attached to this report, but I think they were attached last month. Late last fall, the Board of the Conservation Authority reconfirmed motion A-78-17 or /17 that deems Turkey Point and Long Point to have safe access since Norfolk County has a safety plan in place. So I don't know why the staff of the LPRCA keep bouncing back and forth on this one, but it has been reconfirmed very recently by the board that they still endorse that motion. So I will leave that comment with the committee. So.
Thank you. Andrew?
I just wanted to come in on that. Since 2017, when the board originally declared this, that there was safe egress and access, that has only ever applied to the permitting side of LPRCA because it does not accord with the provincial legislation. So the LPRCA don't actually have the power to say that there's safe access in terms of the planning side. You can say that in terms of your permitting side, but not in the planning side. So this is the issue that we've had for a number of years now, where if an applicant has gotten a permit from LPRCA, then the planning of LPRCA will say there is safe access. If they've come to us first and not got a permit yet, then the planners at LPRCA will say there isn't safe access. This is an issue of LPRCA's making. So the fact that the Conservation Authority has asserted a certain position doesn't actually make it accord with the PPS and can't override the PPS or the Planning Act. So this is the issue we've had and why it keeps coming up all the time, is that the two sides of LPRCA are not sort of in sync with one another in terms of legislation.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Van Passen?
Well, I thank the planner for that. That has to be the best explanation of total and lack of any logic that I've ever heard. So, but at least it is an explanation.
All right, thank you very much. We'll get them trained eventually. Anything further from the committee? Okay, we have a recommendation. No, there's no one else, no one that wants to speak to this application. I just want to make sure I got that covered, or else Nathan will. Anyway, Okay, we have a recommendation for refusal. Would the motion of the committee or an alternative?
Alan, I would like to, and this is based on the Lakeshore Special Policy Area Design Guidelines and their reference to 30% lot coverage on the channel properties. I would like to move for approval of the application.
Okay, thank you. And a seconder, please?
I would like to support that as well.
Lisa, thank you. So Linda moves, Lisa seconds that file number AMPL 20244306 be approved. This application is consistent with the provincial policy statement and does meet the 4 tests of minor variance. All those in favor? And that's carried unanimously. Thank you. Okay, next up is file number ANPL 2024-450, 103-3097, Ontario, Inc., and the planner can give the report, please.
Can I go? Through the chair, the application has been withdrawn as there is no requirement for the submission of a nutrient management plan. We noted that the property is subject to a special zoning bylaw provision allowing for an undersized agricultural lot, and no zoning deficiencies were noted on the subject property. Therefore, the application was withdrawn.
Agent or applicant present that wishes to speak? No? Any questions of the committee? Can I get a motion from the committee? Oh, sorry. Is there anyone present that wishes to speak to this application? Hearing none? Oh, it was withdrawn? It's withdrawn. Okay, I couldn't make out what she was saying very well. Yeah, sorry. Okay, no. I'm sorry.
Thank
you.
you.
Okay, moving on. File number BNPL 2024-399, Haley's Acres Limited, care of Michael Haley. And the planner can give the report, please.
Good afternoon. I believe this is not ANPL, I believe it's BNPL.
Yes, you're right. BNPL 2024-399.
I was going to say, I don't
Correct.
think this is a minor variance. Just for the information of the committee, we are striking conditions 6 and 7 from this report, as after the fact they were deemed not relevant to this application. So we are striking conditions 6 and 7 from the report. That having been said, an application has been received to sever a parcel having a frontage of 62.08 meters, width of 61.34 meters, and a depth of 61.34 meters, and a lot area of 0.318 hectares, and retain a parcel having an area of 39.61 hectares as the severance of a dwelling made surplus through a farm amalgamation. The consent application is being reviewed concurrently with a zoning bylaw amendment for the retained lands to remove a single detached dwelling as a permitted use in the agricultural zone. The subject lands are located at 1746 Wyndham Road 2. In Delhi, the area of the subject lands has been and it has 62 meters of frontage on Wyndham Road. The lands are zoned and designated as agricultural, and the remnant parcel will continue to be used for agricultural purposes. It is staff's opinion that the property meets the definition of a residence-made surplus to an agricultural operation, and the proposed lot configuration is limited to a minimum size needed to accommodate the use and appropriate sewage and water services. The proposed severance conforms to the provincial planning statement The proposal also meets the general intent and purpose of Norfolk County official plan and zoning bylaw. Therefore, staff recommends approval of the application with the conditions listed as attachment 1 of the report. I will now answer any questions. Thank you.
So just to confirm, condition 6 was a receipt of a letter from the building department, correct?
Yes, that is correct.
And 7 is receipt of a letter from the engineering development department indicating the applicant had entered into the necessary agreement regarding a comprehensive grading plan, et cetera.
Yes, that is
Okay,
correct.
just, sometimes they're different on my sheet. Okay. Is there an applicant or agent present to speak to this application?
Yes, there is.
Okay, I'll get back to you in a second. Any questions of the committee to the planner? Councillor Van Passen.
Yes, thanks, Mr. Chairman. I do have a question. Seems to be a little issue with the lot size. It says in the report that the existing property is 40.4 hectares, and we're going to take away 0.31 hectares, and then it ends up with 39.61 hectares. And my math doesn't say that. And when I look at the mapping, Norfolk County mapping, the original parcel is only about 39.3 hectares. So, and I only ask that because is there a need, if it ends up lower than the 40 hectares, do they have to get a zoning amendment to allow an undersized parcel in the ag zone?
Through the chair, this was brought up to the agent. I believe the agent made some corrections, and I believe the proper size is 40.04. So it would meet the 40 hectares. It's 40.04 for the remnant parcel. I'm sure the agent can speak further on that when she does if she has anything to add to this, but we corrected that as 40.4.
Okay, thank you, because I don't want to have to come back later and do it again. If there's a need to do it, we do it now. So thank you.
Okay, thank you. Does the agent have anything to add to that?
Yes. Kirsten Broats from the English Group. Ruchika is the planner on file, but she couldn't be here tonight, so I'm just representing the office here. So going back to the retained parcel, we did go back and forth with Norfolk County planners. The retained parcel should be 40.02 hectares, and the severed parcel will then be 0.381 hectares. Just to clear up that confusion there.
Okay, thank you. Anything else to add?
No, everything else looks good on our part. We just wanted those 2 conditions removed, and seems to be good after that. So we have nothing else to add at this time.
Okay, thank you. Is there any questions, any other questions of the committee? Is there anyone present that wishes to speak to this application? Seeing none, I have a recommendation for approval. Can I get a motion from the committee? Councillor Berry. And a seconder? Councillor Van Passen. File number BNPL 2024399, Haley's Acres Limited, care of Michael Haley. This application is consistent with the provincial policy statement, complies with the policies of the Norfolk County official plan regarding consent to sever policies and in the agricultural designation, and meets the intent of the zoning bylaw. All those in favor? And that's carried. Thank you.
Sorry, I just have a question actually. On the proposal part, on the report from staff, I think it was just a typo, but I just wanted to clarify, because it does say a lot area of 0.318 hectares. It should be 0.381 hectares. So I just wanted to clarify that that was correct now before things were said and done.
The staff person is nodding in approval.
Perfect. Okay, thank you very much.
You're welcome. Thank you. Okay, next up is file number ANPL 2024389, Cheryl Miller Sway. And the planner can give the report, please.
Thank you. Through the chair, an application has been received seeking relief of a 3-meter front yard setback to allow for a total front yard setback of 3 meters for a cottage in the RR zone. The required front yard setback in the rural resort residential zone is 6 meters. The subject lands are located at 65 Ordnance Avenue in Turkey Point. The lot has a frontage of 12.2 meters a width of 12.2 meters, a depth of 104 meters, and a lot area of 1,269 square meters. There's currently a cottage on site. The applicant wishes to demolish the existing cottage and to rebuild it. The surrounding lands are predominantly cottages bordering Lake Erie. The proposed application to reduce the required front yard setback from 6 meters to 3 meters in the resort residential zone meets the 4 tests for a minor variance. It is application conforms to the official plan, conforms to the zoning bylaw. It is desirable for the appropriate development of the neighborhood, and the applicant is minor in nature. Staff support this application and recommended it to be approved. I will now answer any questions. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there an agent applicant present? Is there any questions from the committee to the planner? Mr. Hagan.
Good afternoon. My name's Darrell Hagan. Hi, the planners committee. Good afternoon. If there's any questions I can answer, certainly ask, please.
Okay, thank you. Any questions of the committee to the applicant, agent? No? Okay, thank you.
I have a question.
Oh, somebody's got a question. Go ahead.
Good afternoon. My name is Jim Maddox. I'm a neighbor at 61 Ordnance. So there's this green cottage that you see here on the lower picture that sits in between my cottage and the applicant. So I'm in favor of and support their variance that they have requested here, but receiving the variance brought to my attention a long time issue that we've had with this property that actually began with the prior owner, and they put in a new septic field. So my lot and their lot do touch each other in the back. So that's why. And they put in a prior septic field that I don't understand how it could ever be approved, because it was 3 feet, 4 feet above my property. And now my property perennially floods from, April, sometimes until even July and August. And I have spoken with the current owner, Sherry Miller. I know Darrell Hagan. How are you, Darrell?
How are you?
And the reason I bring this up is I want to go on the record and make sure that comprehensive water management and a drainage plan is considered for this property, and also to fix the back of the property where we have this severe drainage, that my property is basically, their property's retention pond. And while Darrell has all the equipment on site to demolish the house and put a new foundation in, this would be the ideal time to do that. And Cheryl Miller, who I spoke with yesterday, was in agreement. And I just want to, again, go on the record and make sure that that happens. And I have a letter going back to, it's crazy how long I've been living with this, since 2002, from, and you might be familiar with his name, Peter Brian Pullum, the senior drainage superintendent, who inspected the properties and said, and I'm quoting, "The installation of the septic tank has adversely affected the general surface drainage for the neighboring properties." So thank you, and I guess I want to understand kind of what the process and follow-up to make sure that this happens, and I'm trying to be as cooperative as possible.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Hagan.
Thank you for bringing that to my attention. I was not aware of those. Of course, I'm always the last to find out, but we will be definitely monitored. We have been building, I guess, since '97 down there, and we are not in the business of making enemies with the neighbors. So we like to think that we will do whatever, and that will definitely be removed. We have to do a new certified system. It will have to meet, there'll be a grading plan that we have to submit that has to definitely be very stringent on nothing is, goes to the neighbors. And we have to follow that precisely, and we will be checked, and all the elevations will definitely be checked by Jewett and Dixon before we're given an occupancy permit. That will not affect your property, I'll guarantee that personally. That has to be done, and we have to do it right, or we'll never get the next permit. So I would definitely guarantee to the owner that that would definitely be looked at and will be followed. And we are monitored on that, on the septic systems, and they are now a different type of filter bed system that does not seem to create the same problems. So thank you for that, and we'll definitely be looking after you.
And you're being recorded, Mr. Hagan, right? So,
True.
okay.
I trust Daryl, and, to be clear, Daryl and the current owner, Cheryl, had nothing to do with this. This was done by the previous owner,
Yes.
who also made made a guarantee that we'll fix it, Jim, and then they immediately sold the property.
Okay.
And never to be seen again. So that, you can understand why this is a great opportunity to fix this. I've been patient and will continue to be, and Daryl, please reach out to me. Cheryl has my numbers, and I'm happy to work with you on it. And I appreciate everyone's time on this important issue of water management in Turkey Point.
Okay, thank you, and I'm glad we were able to address that for you. Thank you.
Absolutely.
Okay, thank you. Is there any questions or comments from the committee at this time for Mr. Hagan? No? Is there anyone else that wishes to speak to this application in the public domain?
If you don't mind me adding one quick thing, as you can see by the photograph that my friend did refer to, there was certainly what I'll consider a safety issue, and definitely an insurance issue with two properties that on protected openings this close together. I guess there must have been actually two neighbors in Turkey Point that got along really well at one time, to be 18 inches apart. So that is one of the issues. Plus the foundation is deteriorated to the point that nothing can be repaired there. So that's why we're at this point. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, sir. If you'd like to step to the podium, please, and we get your name and such on the public record, please.
My name is Sky Bowen. Just as a suggestion, maybe you could produce a surety of some sort that could be, once everyone's signed off on that and agree that their septic problems are fixed and have been remedied, that would be then cleared. But just to make sure that the property doesn't get sold and the owner is then, once again, waiting for the issue to be resolved by the new owner.
Okay, thank you. Is there anything further from the committee to the applicant? Again, is there anyone in the audience that wishes to speak to this application? No? Okay. We have a recommendation for approval. Can I get a motion from the committee? Councillor Van Passen?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Even though I don't like giving front yard setbacks, if you consider that most of the homes on ordinance are encroaching on the road allowance, this one's at least going to get 3 meters. So,
Yeah.
and if you put it any farther back, you wouldn't be able to see the lake. So
No.
I will move that it be approved.
Thank you. And a seconder, please. Lisa, thank you, Lisa. Welcome back, Lisa. Yeah, so file number AMPL 2024389 in the name of Cheryl Miller Sway. This proposal is consistent with the provincial planning statement and does meet the 4 tests of a minor variance. All those in favor? And that's carried. Thank you. Okay, next up is file number ANPL 2024390, Carrie Ann Stalteri, and the planner can give the report, please.
Thank you. Are we working now? No, still not working. Hello? Okay. Sorry about that. Seems my mic does not want to work. Thank you. Through the chair, an application has been received seeking relief of 3 meters in the front yard setback to allow a total front yard setback of 0 meters and 9% in lot coverage to permit a total lot coverage of 24% to facilitate the replacement of an existing cottage in the RR zone. I am going to unfortunately have to alter my recommendation today. It was brought to my attention just at the end of the day that this front yard setback, as noted, is incorrect. It should actually read 3 meters in front yard setback to allow a total front yard setback of 3 meters. This was an error that was not caught upon the zoning review, and therefore I must recommend that this be deferred so that we can do a proper circulation.
I'm sorry, so you're recommending a deferral for circulation?
I am recommending a deferral. It would have gone out with this error, unfortunately.
Okay, thank you. So originally it was 0, and now it's 3.
Yes,
Okay.
it was caught at the very end of the day, unfortunately, that it should 6 meters is the permitted setback in the RR zone. The setback should be 3 meters. It's unfortunately a typo that happened and would have gone out public
Okay.
circulation wise.
Thank you. Any questions of the committee to the planner? Is there an agent or applicant present? Mr. Hagan. Turn the,
I'm sorry, Kendall, what is it that you're saying?
Through the chair. So unfortunately, an error was made on the circulation notice. It said that the setback relief would be 0 meters and should be 3 meters. It wasn't caught by the zoning administrator until the end of today, so I didn't have an opportunity to inform you of this. So I do apologize for that. So we do have to recirculate because the public notice would have been incorrect, unfortunately.
So are you asking if that is deferred?
Yes, so that we can do a proper public notification process.
I think I should be speaking through the chair.
that's fine.
I feel if it was the other way around and we were asking for 0 and it had been circulated as 3 meters, we're asking for a big plus. I know it is possibly a legal thing, but I feel that there's quite a bit of history here, but we are removing it from Norfolk County property and moving this. At the end of the day, we have to remove the whole cottage. It can't work. Everything is illegal. The decks were built illegal. But I guess I don't know the answer to that, Kendall. I really don't want to be deferred unless you're guaranteeing me in March. To be honest, because I feel that this has been a 6-month deal, and I don't know why it wasn't. I thought when I read it, it was correct on here. I'm sorry?
Mind if I jump in for a second? Through you, Mr. Chair, Nathan Colomayat, just to speak to this, I don't think the notice should have to be recirculated. It'd be different if, say, for example, I'm asking for more relief, and that was the error, but this is actually less relief, so it shouldn't have to be deferred, right? Because if someone was coming to speak to it, they should be relieved that there's request for less relief. So I don't see that it should have to be deferred.
I'm just going to see what staff have to say. They're consulting back and forth there in the background.
Yes, thank
what's
you.
the consensus, Kendall?
I've spoken to the director of planning, and he does say that we can move forward considering it's a less relief than you are requesting. So if you're happy with that, then we can move forward with it. We don't need to defer tonight.
So you're saying you're still asking
Through the microphone, Mr. Hagan.
So if I'm consistent with my 3 meters, the staff is fine with that? Is that right?
I am getting the nod from my director, so we're okay. So I will, what I will do is I will correct what I'm going to say as a report, and then I'll move forward with the report. Are we okay?
Well, I appreciate that, and you absolutely have to bring that forward. I'm not being critical at all, and I appreciate the staff and obviously our new director. Thank you for that.
So just to be clear, you're changing your recommendation to approval
Well, let me go through the report.
Okay.
But I will change the relief that they're seeking, so that it's spoken.
Okay. So we'll let Kendall continue with the report, Mr. Hagan. Have a sit down, and we'll
Yeah, and
we'll
then
we'll
I'll
kind of
And
do
we'll get back to
it. We're going to do a do-over. Okay? Go ahead, Kendall.
My apologies for that.
That's all right.
Just needed the okay. All right. So through the chair, an application has been received seeking relief of 3 meters in front yard setback to allow a total front yard setback of 3 meters and a 9% lot coverage to permit a total lot coverage of 24% to facilitate the replacement of an existing cottage in the RR zone. Excuse me. The subject lands are located on the western side of Cedar Drive, south of its intersection with Turkey Point Road. The area of the subject lands is approximately 486 square meters with approximately 12.27 meters of frontage on Cedar Drive. The subject lands are occupied by an existing cottage and shed, with the existing cottage proposed to be demolished and rebuilt. The lands are designated as resort residential designated and zoned as resort residential as per the official plan and the zoning bylaw. The construction of vacation homes, or the reconstruction of vacation homes, is permitted in the RR zone. However, comments received from the LPRCA note that the access road of the subject property can experience flood depths over 1 meter for 0.3 kilometers to access or egress from Turkey Point via Turkey Point Road, which is greater than is considered safe by the technical standard. As such, the proposal is not consistent with the PPS. In addition, the relief being sought for 9% of lot coverage for a total lot coverage of 24% is significant. I will note in my report that I do state that the relief being sought for 3 meters in the front yard setback incorrectly to 0 meters. This is not correct, obviously. It's supposed to be 3 meters. I would state that that is not a significant request in this area. The existing front yard setback is 2.21 meters on the existing house, and therefore the 3 meters would be appropriate. The front yard setback is not what is reflected in the images that you see, as the decks that are on the front of the house were built without permits and are not considered legally non-complying. So that front yard setback is to the actual front of the house, not to the deck. Sorry. My script has had to change. Considering the existing state of the property, the requested front yard relief would be considered minor in nature. However, the lot coverage would not be considered minor in nature. In summary, the proposed application does not meet the 4 tests of a minor variance and is not consistent with the Provincial Planning Statement 2024 as per the comments from the LPRCA. Staff do not support this application and must recommend that it be refused.
Okay, thank you. So, any questions of the committee? Mr. Hagan, do you have anything to add from your previous testimony?
Thanks, Kendall. Sorry I didn't shut off the microphone again. I'll do a quick summary on this. To explain what is necessary for a minor variance application to rebuild this resort residential, my clients, Frank and Kerry Stoltelli, are residents of Ancaster, and when they had decided that they would like to buy a summer family vacation home somewhere in Ontario, they decided to visit Norfolk County. After visiting Turkey Point and Norfolk, themselves and their teenagers decided this was the place for them. Lots of safe water sports could be done. There were many activities and entertainment in Norfolk. After they purchased the property, they approached myself on some foundation issues. Research with Jewett and Dixon surveyors and a meeting with the Norfolk Planning, I was the guy who had the bad news. To get permits to lift, repair, and pour foundation wall was from Norfolk County and LPRC was looking very difficult. Planning said decks had been built illegally with no permits. The front deck was encroaching on the county property, and that had all been built by the former owner. The rear deck was sitting on whatever the existing septic system was there. The new surveys also revealed property boundary issues a large portion of their property had never been, I'll say in my words, legally conveyed and was not joined on their property. So 3 years later, my friend Nathan Calamera solved that problem finally for them. The owners felt they do not want to leave all these issues on what they would hope to be a family vacation home to pass to their children someday. Our proposer will now actually have less lot coverage than the existing residents and the decks that's there now. And we will meet all the LPRCA regulations now with our relocating, and we can now meet the finished floor elevations. We can do a required grading plan and a new septic filter system that is obviously much better than what is there. Also, 4 parking spots will now be provided, and our setback will now be 3 meters instead of actually basically on the Norfolk County front yard property line. I feel this proposal is certainly inconsistency. In the picture you can see there's actually, no, maybe you can't. In the rear yard, street abutting behind, there's a new development, a very large new cottage. We have done 1 or 2 down the street, across the street. There's some up the street. It certainly is very consistent with what is there. And I feel that we are minor in the fact that we are actually going to have less coverage and are going to be able to make it 99% zone properly now. So thank you for your time, everyone.
Thank you.
If there's any questions.
Any questions of the committee to Councillor Van Passen?
Chris?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I just hoping I heard this right, but the new build is actually going to be smaller than the existing, or is that the footprint?
The footprint of the deck that's on there now, as you can see on the front, which is in there now, I guess maybe on your map you can see the one on the back, or maybe not. So I think the total length of our new residence is 58 feet, and with the deck that's there now is 68 feet. So I think we're going to have probably 200 square foot lot coverage, which now allows us to do a proper septic system in the backyard that we need, and they would never have done it with that. So I guess, and absolutely we have to meet all those issues, as you well know, before we ever get a building permit. We're a long ways from that now. So there's at least 9 or 10 legal documents and permits we have to have, which is the way it is, and we're prepared for that.
Okay, thank you. Any other questions of the committee to the applicant agent? Is there anyone present that wishes to speak to this application, online or in the House? Seeing none, we have a recommendation for refusal, correct? After all that, is there, would the committee like to make that motion or an alternative?
Alan, I'll move to approve.
Okay, thank you, Linda. And a seconder, please. Lisa? So file number ANPL 2024390 in the name of Carrie Ann Staltery. This proposal is consistent with the provincial policy statement and does meet the 4 tests of a minor variance. All those in favor? And that's carried. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. So next up is file number ANPL 2024417, Miles and Cassandra Dobius. And the planner can give the report, please.
Thank you. Through the chair, an application has been received seeking relief of it's on? Sorry, the working one was hiding. Sorry, let's start that again. An application has been received. My apologies. An application has been received seeking relief of 5.45 meters from the exterior side yard setback to allow a total exterior side yard setback of 0.55 meters. The subject lands are located at the end of Old Church Street, south of its intersection with Lindock Road. The area of the subject lands is approximately 2.76 hectares, with approximately 12.034 meters of frontage onto Old Church Road. The subject lands are occupied by a dwelling with an attached garage that is currently under construction. The building permit for the dwelling was issued based on incorrect information provided by the applicant. Once the error was discovered, a stop work order excuse me, was issued by the building department, and the applicant was advised that a planning application would be required. The property is designated hamlet and hazard lands and zoned hamlet residential and hazard lands with special provision 14.157. The dwelling is located solely within the portion of the lands designated in zoned hamlet. The dwelling is a permitted use and is in keeping with the policies of the PPS and the official plan. The proposed relief of 5.45 meters to permit a side yard of 0.55 meters is a significant request and would generally not be considered minor in nature. Comments received from engineering or development engineering indicate road maintenance concerns as well as several safety concerns. The engineering staff have indicated that the approval of this application will create an unmaintainable section of the road and could impact future capital upgrades in the area. I have also provided some additional comments from the public that have been received since the publishing of the agenda. All the committee members should have received those. So 2 of the additional comments have been provided by the subject property owner, with one of them outlining the timeline of events and concerns regarding the technical comments and conditions, and the other noting that there have been no issues with snow or garbage removal and concerns with the safety of the neighboring properties should the road be paved as per the conditions provided by engineering. Another comment was provided by a neighbor in support of the application, and a 4th comment was received that outlines a variety of concerns with the proposal and requests that an alternative solution be reached. Based on the noted road maintenance and safety concerns and the fact that this application does not currently meet the 4 tests of a minor variance, staff would recommend that this application be deferred to provide the applicant and county staff some more opportunity to discuss alternative options. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Is there an agent or applicant present? Okay, is there any questions of the committee to the planner? Linda? No? I thought, sorry, Linda, I thought you were,
No, sorry, Alan, no, I have no questions.
not yet. Okay.
Not yet.
Okay. Anybody else? No? Okay. And the applicant?
Okay. Good evening, everybody. Committee of Adjustment, planners, counselors. We are speaking to you today to formally request a reconsideration of the recommendation to defer our minor variance application. We have approached this process with due diligence, ensuring that all necessary steps were taken to comply with regulations and to build our home in good faith. Given the circumstances, we are seeking a fair and reasonable resolution that acknowledges the unique situation that we now find ourselves in. As a family with 3 young children, our goal has always been to return to Norfolk County, specifically our hometown of Delhi, to raise our children in the same rural environment that we cherished growing up. After an extensive search, we found our property at 16 Old Church Street and saw it as the perfect place to build our forever home. Before purchasing, we conducted thorough due diligence. Given concerns from some residents about potential environmental issues, i.e. sinkholes, we arranged for excavation and soil testing on March 27th. The results confirmed that the soil was undisturbed to a depth of 8 feet and no environmental concerns were identified. Confident in these findings, we moved forward with the purchase, ensuring it was conditional upon the sale of our home in Tillsonburg, excavation results, and permit approvals. On March 28th, our building plans were circulated in an email with Norfolk County. This email happened to also include the neighbor, a Norfolk County employee. At the time, no concerns were raised regarding the property boundaries, reinforcing our understanding that our planned construction was compliant. By July 25th, we had sold our home and moved in with our in-laws and 3 small children while construction commenced. However, on October 7th, several months into the build, we were informed that we did not own a portion of land adjacent to our property, making our structure non-compliant. Subsequently, on November 7th, a stop work order was placed on our garage. To provide our investment, we were advised that we could proceed with certain protective measures such as installing siding, windows, roofing, but further construction had to be halted. This has been an incredibly difficult and unexpected challenge for our family. We have taken every step to ensure compliance, yet administrative oversight has put us in a position where our home and our future are in limbo. We recognize the importance of maintaining planning and zoning integrity, and we hope to work collaboratively with the committee to find a solution that balances regulatory requirements with fairness to homeowners. We had a few concerns regarding the application that we were hoping to get clarification on. So a statement that said the building permit for the dwelling was issued based on incorrect information provided by the applicant. We understand the importance of accurate information in the permit process, but we believed our application to be complete and accurate at the time of submission. Given that the permit was issued and construction proceeded based on that approval, we are seeking clarity on how we can best move forward under these circumstances. And the next statement was, ownership of the piece of land at the west end of Brock Street has been established for many years, well known to county staff and area residents. We acknowledge that property records establishing ownership, but given the lack of concerns and raised at earlier stages, including in our March 28th correspondence, we're seeking to understand how this information can be reconciled with the permit approval process. The next statement that stated, bylaw was previously engaged in a complaint regarding the public use of the same Hammerhead area. We're hoping that the details of this previous engagement could be shared. Specifically, we are interested in understanding when this matter was reviewed and what determinations were made. We also note that there is no signage indicating parking restrictions in this area, which may have contributed to past confusion. The next statement of, if this minor variance is approved, the same county land, which was previously deemed non-permissible for personal use, will be permanently used as a residential driveway. We understand the broader policy concerns, but believe this situation is unique given the circumstances surrounding the permit approval. Additionally, even if the garage were moved, the driveway location would remain unchanged, meaning any concerns related to use of the space would still exist. And then the next statement was, several road maintenance and safety concerns have been identified, including issues with garbage collection and future capital upgrades. We are hoping you could clarify the nature of the future capital upgrades referenced. We note that garbage collection is not currently provided on this road, so we would appreciate further explanation on how that would be impacted. And then with respect to snow removal, the current plow has been able to navigate the road without issues. So if past practice involved pushing the snow onto our lot when it was vacant, we understand that alternative solutions may be needed to considered now that it's occupied. And also note that Norfolk Fire Service has also not raised any concerns regarding our proposal. So we deeply appreciate the committee's time and consideration of this matter. Our family is eager to resolve the situation in a way that is fair, reasonable, and aligned with the broader interests of the community. At the end of the day, it's not the builder, the surveyor, the county that suffer, but it's me and my family are the ones that pay the price. So please be kind. We welcome the opportunity to discuss the possible solutions and the next step. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Good evening, through you, Mr. Chair. I think Cassandra did a wonderful job of outlining everything before you. So we're in a position now where, unfortunately, we were not hoping to be in. And we're not here to point fingers. We realize we respect the process. There's been a few concerns raised. We feel like we've addressed the concerns. And we would appreciate the committee to pass it as it stands. We don't feel that we're impacting the services that are provided. At the end of the day, it's a dead-end street. This is the client that lives and resides and will be there. As Cassandra mentioned, regardless of where this garage sits on the property, it's really irrelevant as the driveway location would remain the same. And one important thing to note of a lot of the concerns that were brought forward were, you can't have even a vehicle parked in front of the garage, and that was incorrect on behalf of development engineering. We can comfortably park a car and a half in front of our garage without being on township property. It only affects a bay and a half, so it's a very small component. If you see the vehicles in front of the current garage, the far left bay and half of the middle bay are actually, if we were to park in front of it, we would be entirely on private property. And it's only the right bay and a half that we're actually asking for this reduction. So we would argue that it is very minor in nature, given the circumstances, and we look to this committee to put this to rest, and we're happy to ask any questions, and I know Eldon has a few things to mention as well.
Okay, thank you. Eldon?
Yes, thank you. My name is Eldon Darbison. Work for G. Douglas Valley Limited. I'm a registered professional planner. I just in addition to what Cassandra and Nathan has mentioned, one of the discussion items is whether it's minor in nature. And it looks to me that the analysis is a quantitative analysis, looking at the numerical values. I took the liberty of pulling up 3 examples of case law where quantitative analysis was not the important factors, actually the qualitative factors in determining if something was minor. So just briefly and quickly, so there's a case, Motisi versus Bernardi, 1987. This was back when the Ontario Municipal Board was in existence. They emphasized that determining whether a variance is minor cannot be based solely on numerical values. The board stated that no strict criteria can be established. Instead, each case must be evaluated based on its specific facts and circumstances. So this decision highlights the importance of a qualitative assessment over purely an arithmetic approach. The second case I pulled was Toronto Standard Condominium Corporation 1517 versus Toronto 2006. Here, the OMB asserts that assessing whether a variance is minor should not be a mechanical exercise focused on numerical deviations. Instead, it requires consideration of the proposal's appropriateness, its fit within the existing planned environment, and the impact of the deviation. So in this case, it underscores the necessity of evaluating the qualitative aspects of the variance application. And similarly, the third example is CZ Designs and Consulting, Inc. This is the Toronto Local Appeal Tribunal, which granted variances for floor space index, building length, and staircase width to facilitate the construction of a new building. So despite the requested variances exceeding typical numerical ranges, the board focused on the qualitative aspects, such as the proposal's fit within the neighborhood's character and context. So again, this decision reinforces the precedence of qualitative evaluation over strict numerical assessment in minor variance applications. So the purpose of me bringing this to the attention of the committee is that you do have the power to make these decisions and consider them minor. These cases collectively demonstrate that Ontario's planning authorities prioritize a qualitative approach when evaluating minor variance applications and considering the broader context and potential impacts rather than relying solely on the numerical thresholds. So that's what I'd like to impress upon the committee this evening. I have a few other things to say, but I think it depends on how the conversation continues. So I'll take a step back.
Okay, thank you. Any questions of the committee to the applicant agents? No? Okay, is there any, go ahead, Eldon.
I'm familiar with the total process here, so I'm just wondering if there's additional dialogue that we could have throughout this hearing.
Not at this point.
Okay.
So now we solicit the audience or the online audience to see if there are any comments or concerns of them. Is there anyone that wishes to speak to this application? Please, I'll just ask you guys to step aside. There's some members of the public that wish to speak, and we'll give them an opportunity. Yeah, and then we have one online too, I see, thank you. Okay, go ahead, sir. No, mic's not on yet. Button on the right, state your name,
Good
please.
evening, Chairman, councillors, public. My name's Donald Bruce Scott, and I reside at 190 Lindock Road, which is at the corner of Lindock Road and Old Church Street. I live about 2 properties away from this building site. And my main concern is that the neighborhood is losing a piece of land, albeit small, but was an integral part of the little community where we live. One of the reasons that it's integral is that all the streets, like Old Church and Old Brock, were buggy lanes. They are not wide city streets where there's the ability to park on the side of the street. Therefore, Parking is very limited. When people come to visit, they're ending up parking on lawns, people's gardens, and this little hammerhead provided a relief valve and was able to provide a little bit of short-term parking for people that came for a visit. And believe it or not, Lindock is a very historic community. And people would actually come by, park their car there, and go for walks in the neighborhood because it was a pleasant, lovely place to walk. And I fear that we're going to lose that. And it's, disheartening for me to see that Norfolk County could be so free with its land to just basically write it off as a mistake on a building plan. And I watched that excavation go in, and I contacted the building department going back to October 7th, and said, I'm watching where the footings are going in, and it looks suspiciously too close. I know a little bit about setbacks and this and that. I said, it looks very, very odd. Maybe someone should come out and have a look. And that was back around October 10th, I think. It wasn't until November 4th that I got a proper reply back from the building officer saying that, yes, they were looking into it and they're having surveys done. Well, by that time, the foundation had been poured and work was proceeding ahead at a grand pace. Now, that's understandable. But I think there was ample opportunity at some point to put a halt to this, and let's deal with the issue that we're faced with now before everything got constructed to a point where, yes, it would be a shame to have to remove it, but things, worse things can happen in this world. I would like to say that if a compromise or a solution is in the works, that I would like to see some semblance of that hammerhead reinstated if it can be reconfigured in that area for the use of the local community.
Okay.
Okay.
Thank you very much. Anybody else that has anything to speak to? Yes, sir. Step right up. State your name for the record.
Good evening, everybody. My name's Martin Earl. I'm a neighbor of the applicant. In fact, my land abuts their land. And so I guess I've come to say that I disagree with a lot of what was said earlier by the applicant, that this is a minor variance. This is 5.5 meters of land, which is about 18 feet for anybody who doesn't know metric. And I believe that from my look at the map that was given with the report today, that the 5.45 meters is quite a bit. And so I think it's about 1,000 square feet of land by my calculations. I may be wrong. So I think what happened here is that a really large mistake was made by somebody. And, I feel that the homeowner should be seeking relief from the author of this mistake, and not from the county and not at the expense of the neighborhood. So one question I have is, on the date of the stop work order, I'd like to know exactly what how far along the building was. And if there wasn't another way that the foundation could have been mothballed without continuing to build. So one of the Planning Act considerations is the orderly development of safe and healthy communities. I don't see this as a case of orderly development. I think that something happened. Like I said, a mistake was made. The person who made the mistake perhaps doesn't want to own up to it. And, you know, so it's left to everybody else to deal with. You know, another part of the official plan consideration is that this will not have a negative impact on the county's financial sustainability. So maybe it won't, but by the same token, if the county is giving up 1,000 square feet here and there and everywhere, then it is going to negatively affect the county's financial sustainability. So the property, in my opinion, did not sell for many years because of the restrictive nature of the property, of the lot, of the building lot. To my mind, this should have prompted the owner to double, if not triple check, the lot dimensions before construction even began. That obviously did not happen.
So
I feel.
Can I just get you to summarize, because we typically have a
Okay,
5-minute rule.
well-
I've been pretty generous with everybody else.
Okay, I mean, they got quite a bit of
I
time
know,
to speak
yeah.
as well, so,
Yeah.
yeah, I'll kind of wrap it up, but, you know, I believe that Norfolk County has to stop illegal building like this, because otherwise, people are just going to do it wherever they want. And outside of Lindock, there's 17 one-acre lots going up for sale. I think that by stopping this, you're going to send a message to those people that, yes, you have to build on your own property and not impede on the county property.
Okay.
So, the only other thing I'd ask is that a cost analysis be done versus tearing down the portion of the garage that's on county land versus paving the road and all the other conditions that engineering put on this.
Okay.
So, and then paving the road, the old Brock Road, which is currently a gravel road, dirt road, I think that that is basically just going to serve as a de facto driveway for the applicants, right? They're basically getting their driveway paved. And the county seems to think that that's a good idea. So, and the only other thing I'd want to say is that I disagree with the conditions that engineering has put on this, because they're not, I mean, it's like get a map drawn, you know, anyway, and pave the road.
Okay.
So I'm not in favor of that either. And I'm not sure what's going to happen tonight, but I just want to say that I'm ready to fight this for as long as it takes. I'm sorry to say that. I really feel bad for you guys because it wasn't your fault.
I'm going to cut you off there, sir.
So, okay, but I do feel bad for the applicants because it's not their fault.
Okay.
But again, somebody made a big mistake and should be made to pay for it.
Okay, thank you for your opinion. Yes, ma'am.
I will keep this very brief.
Thank you. And your name, please?
My name is Tina Graywall, and I live at 6 Old Church.
Sorry, 6?
Old Church.
Old Church, okay. We
In
just need to
Lindock.
jot that down.
I think it's very sad, this whole situation. These people want to move into their home, and they should. But the problem is there's an illegal build here. An illegal build of a 3-car garage and a nanny suite upstairs. There is a portion of that area that belongs to the town, that belongs to the county, and that should be given back. They need to reduce the size of their garage to what it should be conformed to, and that's the way it should be. The hammerhead should be put back. We don't need a paved road. The country road, the way it is great. They need to rectify what they have done, and they need to put it back the way it was. That's what the community is asking for. That's what the neighbors are asking for. This is a bridge too far with the amount of land they want to take. That's my opinion.
Okay, thank you very much. Can I get any questions of the committee? We have one, just a minute, Linda, we'll get back to you. There's one person online there with their hand up. Go ahead and state your name, please.
Thank you. My name is Denise Landry, and I'm with Netherray Planning, and I represent my client, the owner of 10 Old Church Street. I have a brief presentation, and I promise to keep it to the 5 minutes. If I can share my screen, I'm not sure if I have to be given permission to do that. We will check. Nope, I think I'm okay.
There you go. It's up.
Thank you. As mentioned, my name is Denise, and I'm a registered professional planner. I'm representing the owner of 10 Old Church Street, who is directly adjacent to 16 Old Church Street, the subject application. Ms. Kayla DeLay also represents my client and has provided a letter to the Committee of Adjustment outlining why the application before you tonight should not be supported. As you're aware, the owners of 16 Old Church Street have applied for minor variance to reduce the exterior side yard setback from 6 meters to 0.55 meters. The application was submitted to rectify the nonconformance issue with the county's zoning bylaw. It's very important to note that the application should be reviewed as though the construction of the dwelling in the garage has not taken place. It's my professional opinion that the minor variance request to reduce the exterior side yard setback from 6 meters to 0.55 meters does not meet the 4 tests of a minor variance, as per section 45(1) of the Planning Act. And on the next few slides, I will briefly explain why the application does not meet these tests. The proposed setback is not in keeping with the Hamlet and Hazard Lands official plan designation and does not meet the intent of the zoning bylaw. The setback is not compatible with the unique Hamlet character where lots are large and dwellings are adequately set back from property lines. The reduction of 90% does not meet the intent of the zoning bylaw. The intent of the exterior side yard setback is for adequate separation between structures and right-of-ways for safety, visibility, access, to maintain character and prevent land use conflicts. The application is not desirable for the appropriate development of the lands and is not considered minor. Old Church Street is very narrow and the proposed setback provides insufficient space for a functional driveway. There are concerns regarding maintenance of the right-of-way, safety for vehicles entering and exiting the subject site, and for vehicular and pedestrian traffic on the right-of-way. A 90% reduction in the setback can't be considered minor, especially when there are creation of negative impacts. The reduction impacts the use and maintenance of public infrastructure, alters the streetscape consistency, removes informal parking opportunities for the residents of the street, and sets an undesirable precedent for future applications. Again, it is my professional opinion that the minor variance does not meet the 4 tests of a minor variance and should be denied. An alternative solution to address the noncompliance was presented in Ms. Kayla DeLay's letter. The County of Norfolk could declare a portion of Old Church Street as surplus, as per policy CS-60, and allow all properties along Old Church Street the opportunity to purchase a portion of it. This may eliminate the need for a minor variance and permit the location of the dwelling and garage at 16 Old Church Street. Thank you for the opportunity to speak this evening, and I'm happy to answer any questions that the Committee of Adjustment members may have.
Okay, thank you. Are there any questions of the committee to any of the delegations that have presented here? No? Being none? Is there any other member of the public that wishes to speak to this application? So before us, we have a recommendation for deferral. Linda.
I just wanted to ask a question of planning staff, Alan. Some of the delegations talk like the garage is actually built on county property, but the way I look at the mapping, the structure is actually on their own property. Is that correct?
That's correct. It's 0.55 meters away from the property line right now.
Okay. Thank you.
And to clarify, on their own property.
Yes. Okay, thank you.
Okay, thank you. Anybody else? Councillor Van Passen?
I guess a question to our staff, if, is it possible to make a recommendation or accept your recommendation for deferral with the intent of basically sending it for some mediation between, like we've got differences of opinions from different planners, different members of the public. Is there a solution out there between our engineering department, our building department, the neighborhood, that could solve it? But I guess that's not the purview of the planning committee, but can we request that?
Sorry, yes. Yeah, through the chair, I believe that would be the intent of the deferral, would be that we can look for another solution with engineering, operations, planning staff, building staff, even realty staff if necessary. We have met and discussed this already, but didn't come to any like set solution based on the comments from engineering, so.
Well, I think that's probably because they were only looking at it from each in their own department, and to get the whole group together, you know, is it possible to, maybe we throw a couple loads of gravel to the north, like the garage as it's built covers a, what, half of, or 1.5 parking spaces. Maybe if the county threw some gravel on the rest of it and put up signage that that's neighborhood parking, would that, you know, sort of alleviate some of the issues? Like, let's get some new ideas out on the table rather than, you know, engineering looks at it from an engineering perspective, roads looks at it from a roads perspective. Can we sit down and look at it from a people in a neighborhood perspective and maybe find a solution that way? So,
yeah, during yeah, through the chair, during the deferral period, that could definitely be something that happens, and we
I'd
can-
be happy to move the deferral as long as somebody is going to take the lead on organizing that sit down and get it moving, because we don't want to take forever on this one either. So.
Just got Councillor Berry.
I'll look at Bowden.
Oh,
he's
sorry.
waving his head up and down, so maybe he'll take the lead on it and we can get something done quickly. And so a lot of other nodding heads out there, so maybe that's a solution.
Councillor Berry had a question?
Yeah, thanks, Chair. Through you to staff there, Kendall, like, or Bowden, whoever, like, what is a potential outcome here, though, if we defer? Like, I mean, I understand that there's things that are possible, but what are those things that we just? Well, okay, I guess where I'm going with this is if we're going to be back here with, like, okay, so we're not be able to create more distance between this and the county property. We're not going to be able to, I mean, I guess we could always convey the property. Like, what are we doing here, is, I guess, what I'm asking, apart from deferring it?
Through the chair, so that would be part of what the discussions are about, is what other options are available. There was discussion regarding potentially the purchase of additional land, but that would have to be discussed more in depth with realty to see if that is an option, and there is a process that would have to go through in order for that to
So I
happen.
guess what I'm asking is we don't know right now what those potential options even are.
No, we don't at this point. Exactly.
So, okay, so then I guess what I'm getting at is we could be deferring this, and there could be just nothing, and here we are back in a couple months.
Well, that's not the first time we've deferred and had an application come back basically the same as it was when we deferred it.
Yeah, I'm
So,
not saying I don't want to
yeah.
do the deferral. I'm asking what is the outcome that we're working
Yeah,
towards?
well, we've done that before where there has been no outcome, so, and it comes back basically
Okay.
as it is, so.
All right, I'm fine
I
with the
think
deferral
we'll-
too, but I don't know where we're going.
Okay. Anybody else? Councillor Van Passen, you are going to make a motion to defer? Okay. Can I get a seconder to that? Councillor Berry. So file number ANPL 2024417 in the name of Miles and Cassandra Dobius, I hope I have that pronounced right, has been moved for deferral. All those in favor? And that is carried. Thank you. I have to get my deferral sticker out. Yes, let's take a 5-minute break, please.
We all have the right to feel safe at work, when spending time with friends and family, when participating in activities or attending a public meeting or event. Norfolk County is committed to ensuring our spaces and workplaces are safe. Our Respect and Responsibility policy outlines the code of conduct for employees, patrons, contractors, volunteers, coaches, and spectators. This code of conduct also applies to phone calls, emails, and virtual and social media platforms. We all play a part in fostering a respectful and safe environment. Inappropriate behaviors such as swearing, name-calling, verbal and physical threats, physical violence, harassment, and vandalism will not be tolerated. Staff have the right to take action when incidents occur. This may include denying service, asking individuals to leave, contacting the police, or, if necessary, suspending them from county programs and facilities. Those responsible for damaging county property will be required to cover the cost of repairs, fees, and lost revenues. We are committed to providing high-quality customer service and a safe and respectful environment for all. For more information about our Respect and Responsibility policy, visit norfolkcounty.ca/R&R.
Hi, I'm Hannah from the Norfolk County Planning Department. We receive many questions at the Planning Department, and this video series will answer some of those, like, what types of planning applications are there? There are 4 main types of planning applications for different needs. First, there are minor variances and different types of severances. These are reviewed by Norfolk County's Committee of Adjustment. An example of a minor variance is when a garage is being built closer to a property line or is taller than what is permitted in the zoning bylaw. An example of a consent to sever is creating a new lot to allow for a new house. Second, are zoning bylaw and official plan amendments that are considered at council. An example is changing the permission in an urban area to allow for a triplex where a single detached dwelling is permitted. Third, are applications that Ontario's Planning Act gives Norfolk County's Planning Department authority to approve. For example, a draft plan of condominium or subdivision, which are types of applications which enable the division of land for future housing. And fourth, are applications which rely on approval from another regulator, such as telecommunications towers and hazard land boundary line adjustments. As a resident, when do I need to submit a planning application? For the average homeowner, a planning application may be required if your project does not meet the requirements of the zoning bylaw or official plan, or your property falls under site plan control. The building department will let you know that a planning application is required. If you want to change the boundaries of your lot, create an easement, or create a new lot from your property, you will need to apply for a consent to sever with the planning department. What is a pre-consultation meeting? A pre-consultation meeting is the first step of a planning application and allows staff to clarify the application process and provide a checklist of documents required. A complete application can reduce the time required for review and decision-making. Applications that must undergo a pre-consultation meeting before the application can be submitted include official plan amendments, zoning bylaw amendments, draft plans of subdivision, draft plans of condominium, and site plan applications. A meeting may also be required for certain Committee of Adjustment applications. To learn more about planning in Norfolk County, visit our website at norfolkcounty.ca/planning or contact the planning team at 519-426-5870 or 226 Norfolk, extension 1842. You can also email planning@norfolkcounty.ca. Thanks for watching. Hi, I'm Hannah from the Norfolk County Planning Department. We receive many questions at the Planning Department, and this video series will answer some of those. A common question is, what is zoning? Zoning is a way of categorizing how land can be used. Norfolk County has identified through its zoning bylaw different land use zones, for example, commercial, agricultural, or residential, what they can be used for, and any required standards, for example, building size and location. Zoning must be maintained by any development or activity that has started from the date the zoning bylaw has been passed by the county. What is the process of changing a zoning bylaw? A common reason that residents are referred to the planning department is because their proposal does not meet the current zoning bylaw provisions. If a landowner wants to change the land use from what is permitted in the existing zoning, a change in the zoning bylaw would be required. For example, changing the permission from only a single detached dwelling to expand the permission to build a triplex. This is called a zoning bylaw amendment, and it requires council's approval. A planning application known as a minor variance can be submitted for a minor change in the zoning bylaw, such as the height or size of a structure. Minor variances are reviewed by the Committee of Adjustment that is made up of citizen members who are appointed by council. The committee is governed by the Planning Act and holds public meetings to approve applications for minor variances and consents. A minor variance must meet the 4 tests to be approved. 1, the change is minor. 2, the development is desirable for the appropriate use of the land, building, or structure. 3, the change maintains the general intent and purpose of the official plan. And 4, the change maintains the general intent and purpose of the zoning bylaw. What happens after a decision is made by the Committee of Adjustment? If the committee approves an application, the applicant and anyone else involved is notified. Certain parties can appeal a decision to the Ontario Land Tribunal within a 20-day appeal period. If no appeals are filed, the county issues notice that the decision is final. For minor variances, an applicant can now proceed with the building permit process. For severances, specific conditions must be met within 2 years, or the application will expire and the process will need to restart from the beginning. To learn more about planning in Norfolk County, visit our website at norfolkcounty.ca/planning or contact the planning team at 519-426-5870 or 226 Norfolk, extension 1842, or email planning@norfolkcounty.ca. Thanks for watching.
Hi, I am Mohammed from Norfolk County Planning Department. We've got a lot of questions here, and this video series will answer some of those. What is a severance? Severance is a planning process to separate a piece of land from an existing lot, generally for the purpose of a new development within a new lot. There are 3 different common types of severances we receive in Norfolk County. The first one is when a piece of land is separated to create a new parcel of vacant land. For example, a landowner may have a large lot and wish to separate a piece of land from the original lot with the intention to sell the lot to a new owner. In that case, both lots need to comply with existing zoning requirements such as setbacks of any existing or new buildings from the property lines. The second one is a surplus farm dwelling severance. It happens when a landowner purchases additional farmlands and a residence on one of the properties is no longer required for their farming operation. In this case, the owner can sever the piece of land that contains the redundant residential dwelling. And the third kind of severance can be a boundary adjustment between 2 adjacent properties, where one property owner agrees to transfer a piece of their land to
more specifically within the Intake Protection Zone IPZ-1. The subject property also includes a significant woodland. The benefiting property located at 91 Highway 59 is currently used for industrial purposes, associated with but not limited to the storage of non-agricultural materials and commercial fertilizers. The property is designated protected industrial area in the county's official plan and zoned general industrial zone. We know that the property is also subject to an ongoing site plan control application, SPPL 2018-144, and that subsequent site plan agreement is not yet registered on title. Staff recommends that application, consent application BNP 2024-348 be deferred, as the severance and land conveyance of prime agricultural lands are not consistent with the provincial planning statement, fail to conform to the county's official plan, and do not comply with the zoning bylaw. The subject to provide further explanation about the consistency of the applications with the planning framework. The subject property is currently used for farming operations and supports the continuity of farmland in the rural areas, which is a provincial requirement. The lands to be severed and conveyed are outside of the urban settlement area of Dalhai and intended to be preserved for agricultural and rural land uses that do not include industrial uses. It is a policy of the Provincial Planning Statement 2024 that where planning authority must decide on planning matters before their official plan has been updated to be consistent with the provincial planning statements, or before other applicable planning instruments have been updated accordingly, it must still make a decision that is consistent with the provincial planning statement. We know that the proposed severance is not consistent with the lot creation policies in prime agricultural areas of the provincial planning statement. It is the purpose of the severance to convey the severed land to the abutting industrial property as part of the expansion of the current industrial facility. Permitted uses in prime agricultural areas are intended to preserve long-term use of agricultural lands, and industrial uses are not permitted in prime agricultural lands and would trigger an official plan amendment to expand the urban settlement boundary and alter the current use that is permitted in the official plan, which is agricultural. It is a policy of the PPS 2024 to allow for prime agricultural land severance subject to an amendment of the urban settlement area boundary in accordance with policy 2.3.2, new settlement areas and settlement area boundary expansion of the PPS, which must be addressed through an official plan amendment application, supported with the required technical studies prior to the consent application. The technical studies required in support of an official plan amendment are paramount to ensure the protection of health, public safety, and public interests. The part of the subject property that is located in the rural areas is subject to an official plan amendment, OPA 163, that was approved by Council on May 22, 24. Nevertheless, the subject lands are designated protected industrial land in that official plan amendment that is not approved yet. We know that it has been approved by Council, but not by the Ministry of Municipal Affairs, which is the approval authority of this official plan amendment. So until it is approved by the Municipal Affairs, by the Ministry of Municipal Affairs and Housing, the current official plan designation and policies are the ones in effect. To discuss the official plan policies, the proposed severance and land conveyance will further reduce the lot size of the proposed agricultural retained lot. The intended use on the severed lands is an industrial non-agricultural use that is not currently permitted. The proposed severance and land conveyance do not conform to policy 7.2.4.a of the official plan that outlines criteria for the county to disassemble agricultural land into agricultural lots that are less than approximately 40 hectares in size, which is the case of this application. Policy 7.2.4b further specifies that the county shall consider a proposal to disassemble agricultural land to a lot size smaller than 40 hectares by way of applications of zoning bylaw amendment and a consent. to discuss the zoning bylaw regulations and provisions. The subject lands are zoned as agricultural, hazard lands, and urban residential type 1 zones in the county's zoning bylaw. The minimum required lot area in the agricultural zone is 40 hectares with a minimum required frontage of 30 meters. The severance will result in an undersized retained lot that is approximately 4.5 hectares in lot area with a deficient frontage of 13.7 meters. So the retained lot does not meet the minimum requirements of the zoning bylaw. The land conveyance would result in a split zoned benefit in lot as a result of the conveyance that includes an agricultural zone and general industrial zones. The severed lands to be conveyed are zoned agricultural, which prohibits industrial uses, and therefore a zoning bylaw amendment of the lands to be severed and conveyed is required to allow for potentially an industrial use. Additionally, industrial uses are prohibited on lands zoned hazardous lands, which will trigger additional requirements at the time of future utilization of the subject lands for industrial purposes. It is the opinion of staff that the severance and land conveyance fail to comply with the zoning bylaw as well. The application, so the concurrent application, the minor variance, to discuss that one, and then we can defer to the applicant. So staff also recommends that minor variance application ANPL 2024-320 be deferred as the application fails to meet the 4 tests of the minor variance under section 45(1) of the Planning Act. It was previously noted that the application does not conform with the requirements of the official plan. The severed lands to be conveyed are zoned agricultural, which prohibits industrial uses, and therefore zoning bylaw amendment of the lands to be severed is required. The sought variance is not sufficient to meet the requirements of the zoning bylaw. Zoning bylaw amendment application is also required for the retained lands to address the increase in the lot deficiency. In the absence of the required Planning Act approvals, and that would be the official plan amendment and zoning bylaw amendment, and supporting technical studies prior to the severance and land conveyance, the subject lands the development is considered inappropriate for the development of the subject lands. The application is not minor in nature and considered premature given the additional required Planning Act approvals to allow for the intended industrial use on the benefit and lot, and the requirements for support and technical studies to be provided in order to ensure the protection of public health, safety, land use compatibility requirements, and compliance to the zoning bylaw provisions. So in summary, staff recommends that the application be deferred until official plan amendment 163 is approved by the Ministry of Municipal Affairs and Housing and is in effect. Alternatively, the proponent shall proceed with an official plan and zoning bylaw amendment applications prior to the severance of the subject property in order to give proper considerations to land use compatibility, water source protection policies, and natural heritage preservation, and to ensure consistency of the proposed development with the planning framework. So after planning report, I would like to inform you that MTO, the Ministry of Transportation, provided their comments with respect to the application on February 14th, and I would like to read their comments as well. So these are the MTO comments with respect to both applications. The Ministry of Transportation has received, reviewed, and the submitted concept plan for the proposed severance for the subject property identified as 443 Talbot Road, Delhi. The following outlines our comments. The subject property is within MTO permit control as identified in the Public Transportation and Highway Improvement Act. Thus, MTO permits will be required. Highway 3, which refers to Talbot Road, is a controlled access highway classified as arterial. As such, all requirements, guidelines, and best practices in accordance with this classification and designation will apply. Ministry of Transportation has no objections with applications ANPL 2024-320 or BNPL 2024-242 proceeding, provided the following conditions and permit requirements are met. General requirements. The severed lands will require a PIN consolidation with the Scots Canada land. Second provision, zoning of the retained lands shall remain the same, which is agricultural. Should the zoning of the retained land change, access to the lands shall be from Arnold Sayo Drive via existing land parcels. Permit requiremts. MTO, so it says Ministry of Transportation, no fee entrance permit will be required for 443 Talbot Delhi, which refers to retained lands. With that, I would be happy to take any questions or comments.
Okay, so just to be clear, you're recommending deferral on both of these applications?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Any questions of the committee to the planning staff?
I have a question, Alan.
Go ahead, Linda.
The planner at the very beginning of her report made a statement that commercial fertilizers are is for the purpose of storage of commercial fertilizers. And I don't think that information is correct because Scots Canada does not make fertilizer on that site. They do mulch. And I just want to comment from planning on that.
Through the chair, thank you for the question. So Scots Canada has a industrial operations currently on site. So that statement was made after consulting their website and description of their products and activities. I would be happy to look further to their operations and maybe advise you and reach out to them to provide more specific, maybe description of their operations.
Thank you.
Okay, yeah, because I'm very familiar with that business, and Scott's may sell fertilizers, but on that site in Delhi, they do not make or sell any fertilizer. It's all mulch. So you need to clarify that and get it correct in your report.
Okay, thank you. Oh, go ahead.
Thank you. So the objective of the report is to give regard to the water source protection policies of the official plan. So what can be considered as prescribed drinking threat? I'm going to cite some policies. And then again, Scots Canada can be subject to 1, 2, more or less, but these are what can be considered a prescribed water threat. So we have the handling and storage of non-agricultural source material, which is the case on site right now. The handling and storage of commercial fertilizer, which can or cannot be, but that is a potential threat. The application of pesticide to land. The handling and storage of pesticide, or an activity that reduces the recharge of an aquifer. And we know that part of the severed lands is within the intake protection zone. So to provide further information about the process and why these policies are important, when there's a official plan amendment application, technical studies are required. So section 59 is a required submission. And it is required when the subject lands are part of either an intake protection zone, a water issue contributing area, or a wellhead protection area. So that form, the industrial operator will provide what kind of activities and descriptions, and it will be submitted to a risk manager. So that's not something that the county does. It's the risk manager, and once they assess the activities and the level of risk, they will provide specific policies to address that risk. And that process is part of an official plan amendment, not consent application.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Van Passen.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chairman. I got a few of these questions because this is a rather complicated thing. On the water intake zone, I do believe that intake has been decommissioned for quite some time, and maybe we just haven't caught up on the mapping, so we're going to need to check with our EIS department because I don't think they use that anymore ever since they put the new wells on the other side of Delhi. So maybe we've got to check on that. That might solve one problem. And then in the report, there's a lot of discussion on the uses that are allowed in rural lands, and I don't believe we have any rural lands in Norfolk County. We'd like to get some because you're allowed severances in rural lands, but not in agricultural lands, but we don't have any of that designation, so that sort of eliminates that. But my bigger question is, why was this not just considered as a boundary adjustment? Like, it's called a severance, but it then is specific that it has to be attached to another one. Now, if I read rules correctly, I think a severance is something that is allowed in the agricultural zone if it's minor in nature. Then it would be up to maybe the committee to decide qualitatively, not quantitatively, I learned 2 new words today, on whether 7 hectares is minor in nature or not, and that would have eliminated a lot of the other questions and things that don't have answers to them. And then I also got to add that, this whole parcel here, the county has asked the province to rezone it to industrial and part of the urban boundary and get all those things straightened out. Now, the last time I talked to Minister Calandra, it was on his desk, but politicians are like bureaucrats. They can't get anything done fast. So that's been at least 6 months ago that it was on his desk and it hasn't been signed yet. So, so what is the best option? Is it better to just rephrase what we're asking for and just call it a boundary adjustment? Is it better just to sit and wait till see if the ministry approves the county's request for expansion of our urban boundaries and the changes? Or there are some new changes to the rules for the new provincial planning statements that the individual property owner can make that request to change the zoning and add it to the urban boundary on their own, and that's approvable by the municipality itself, not the province, if I read the rules correctly. So you have a few comments on any of those subjects?
Yes. Thank you. Through the chair. So yes, the county did update their water source protection plan. We do refer to the county GIS mapping, which is up to date, and the property is indeed like part of the intake protection zone, so that's accurate information and it's up to date. In regards to rural lands, if you can give me 2 seconds. But I mean, it's in effect. If you can give me 2 seconds just to look for the exact definition of rural lands, because there is rural areas and rural lands in the official plan, in the provincial policy statement.
Maybe while you're, do you have that handy?
Yes.
Okay.
So rural lands, as stated in the PPS, means land which are located outside settlement areas and which are outside of prime agricultural areas. So yes, you're correct. However, there is rural areas as well. So it's not in the rural lands, but it's in the rural areas.
Okay.
So the second thing, it's about the severance policies. So the severance policies, they are detailed in the PPS, and since the county does not have an updated and official plan, the applicable policies of severance of prime agricultural land shall be those of the PPS. So it is permitted in specific cases for agricultural uses, agricultural related uses, 1 new residential lot per farm consolidation for resident surplus or infrastructure. So none of these intended uses meets the permitted lot creation policies context. So it is not permitted unless there is an official plan amendment. to change the designation to industrial and to expand the urban settlement boundary area. Once that's done, severance can occur. And then about what is the best option. So official plan amendment 163 was approved by council to expand the urban settlement areas based on land assessment study, and it is true, like the direction was to like designate additional lands to foster industrial use because the county needs it, creates jobs, and it's great for economic development. Nevertheless, it has not been approved yet, and we did not have any feedback or update from the ministry. So what is the best direction? That is kind of, the answer would be like speculative to a certain extent, but the applicants needs to be aware that at the time being, at the time of the review of the application, what we have currently in the official plan zoning bylaw is what's in effect and what will take precedence. So the logical step, if they want to proceed with their development, as of now, is to proceed with an official plan amendment, zoning bylaw amendment, supported with the required technical studies. If it's approved, then the consent and minor variance logically. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Any other questions of the committee to the planning staff? Is there an applicant or agent present? Please, Nathan. Step right up.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and through you to the committee. Good evening. I'm Nathan Colomea. I'm the lawyer and agent for the owner applicant, Irving Farms, and thank you to planning staff for the report. The staff recommendation in the report has been discussed ad nauseum is for deferral. We ask that you approve the severance and the minor variance this evening. The long-term intended goal, as far as I understand it, for the property to be severed is to become a part of the successful Scott's facility next door. There are several steps to get to that point, and the important takeaway is we're not dealing with all those steps today. We are not asking for relief to be able to undertake industrial uses tomorrow. We are not asking to start a development tomorrow. We are not, which was cited at great length, we are not creating a new lot. So the lot creation policies do not apply. We're not asking for an official plan amendment. We're not asking for a zoning bylaw amendment. We're not asking for a site plan. We are simply asking for a bare land boundary adjustment. Much of the planning report deals with the creation of a new lot, talk of confirmation of sufficient servicing requirements, scoped environmental studies, technical studies, lot creation to be discouraged in prime agricultural areas, rural lands. These are all distracting points, and it's not what we're dealing with today. The provincial policy statement is permissive in that lot adjustments, what we're dealing with today, may be permitted for legal or technical reasons. By contrast, lot creation, what we're not dealing with today, is discouraged and may only be permitted in accordance with provincial guidance for certain severances. But the key here is language of the PPS. And, well, how do we interpret it? So one of the key provisions is the PPS talks about its language, okay? The choice of language, and this is from the PPS itself, is intended to distinguish between types of policies and the nature of implementation. There is some discretion when applying a policy with enabling or supporting language in contrast to a policy with a directive, limitation, or prohibition. So if you look to the relevant policies in the PPS, the language is permissive. Lot adjustments in prime agricultural areas may be permitted for legal or technical reasons. But if we contrast for lot creation in prime agriculture areas is discouraged and may only be permitted in accordance with provincial guidance for, and it lists the usual classes. So here the PPS does not prohibit what we are asking for you to do today, which is a severance of vacant land to be added to the neighboring property. We're not asking for an industrial use. We're not asking for any of that. That would be the prerogative and the choice of Scots Canada in the future. For all we know, if we convey this property to them, it could sit vacant forever. We don't know, right? We provide answers as to the intended use to provide some context, but it doesn't bind them, and it doesn't bind us, and it doesn't, more importantly, bind you today. So therefore, our application does in fact comply with the PPS. And the Norfolk County Official Plan, again, when we look at the correct policies, we're not dealing with lot creation. It's likewise permissive and describes, but doesn't limit, consideration to certain purposes. And the zoning bylaw deals with the nuts and bolts, and it deals with lot sizes. We were talked about, well, the lot's too small and the lot's this. Well, that's the whole point of a minor variance application. If there was never a chance or an opportunity to ask for something that's smaller than what's required, well, then the instrument, the mechanism of a minor variance wouldn't exist at all. So our application complies with the intent of the PPS, the official plan, and with the zoning bylaw. And again, go back to our new word of the evening, qualitative. The same thing goes for the minor variance. We have to look at the project and its intended, it's not its intended, but its potential impact. All we are doing is we are shifting a legal boundary. That's all we're doing. But at the end of the day, we're just changing the location of a line between two neighbors, and one that we would like to change. So what's the impact? The impact is negligible. It's potentially nothing, because all of those things, all of the risks that planning staff are talking about come later. Depending on what Scott wants to do with the property or not. And all of those risks get dealt with at later steps. They get dealt with in the site plan process. They get dealt with in the official plan and zoning bylaw amendment process if it's required, depending on when and what they do. But it's not required for what we have to do today. And so I'd also like to address a number of the conditions in the report. So, number one, subject to approval of the official plan amendment application, we ask that that be struck because it's not required. So number two, same thing, subject to the approval of a zoning bylaw amendment application. Again, that's not relevant to what we're asking for today, and it should be struck. And number five, confirmation for the Secretary Treasurer indicating that the zoning of the retained lands has been amended to meet the requirements of Norfolk County zoning bylaw requirements. If it's the size requirements, that's why we've applied for the minor variance. So number five is not applicable and should be struck. And number six just doesn't make sense. So that 6.7 hectares portion of land presently owned by Arvane Farms be conveyed to the abutting road allowance. So why would we be transferring 6.7 hectares to Norfolk County for a road allowance? I know what this is getting at. This is a boundary adjustment application, and this is what you typically do require a conveyance of a 1 foot square to Norfolk County if you're dealing with whole lots on a plan of subdivision, or if you're splitting up a property that was previously severed by a consent. That has nothing to do with what we're doing today. The properties involved, neither of which are whole lots on a plan of subdivision, so there's nothing that we should have to convey to Norfolk County for any purpose as part of this application. And then lastly, number 9, that the severed parcel becomes part and parcel of the abutting lands presently owned by Scott's Canada, assessment roll number, blah, blah. That part is correct. That's what we're doing. We're doing a boundary adjustment, so we should be required to convey it to Scott's Canada. But the second part of this condition, and that the site plan agreement associated with the application be finalized and registered on title of the benefiting lot. We're not dealing with site plan matters. That is for Scott's Canada and Norfolk County to deal with, and it should not form part of this application because it has nothing to do with it. So in summary, we'd like you to please approve the application with the removal of conditions 1, 2, 5, 6, and removal of the site plan reference in condition 9. Scott's Canada is a major local employer and an excellent steward of Norfolk County lands. We ask that you support this application to support them. And those are my submissions, and any questions, I'd be happy to entertain them. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Ethan. Any questions? Linda?
I don't have a question, just a comment. And I tend to agree with Nathan, and I feel like we need to be supporting our local businesses and their requests for like this, there needs to grow. Obviously, they're growing and they need this land for that purpose. So I will be supporting the application. And that's just my comment.
Okay, thank you. Anybody else? Planning staff. Microphone?
Yeah, thank you through the chair. I would like to come back to the PPS policy and what is considered lot adjustment. So the PPS policy states that lot adjustment in prime agricultural areas may be permitted for legal or technical reasons. Legal and technical reasons means severance for purposes such as easements, corrections of deed, quit claims, and minor boundary adjustments, which do not result in the creation of new lots. It is staff opinion that this proposed development cannot be considered as a lot adjustment for technical and legal reasons. We all in support of local economic development, job creation, expansion of a successful industrial operator, indeed, but there is requirements for compliance with the Ontario planning framework, provincial standards and procedures and guidelines, and also the policies of the county's official plan and the regulations of the zoning bylaw. There is some health and land use compatibility considerations that need to be addressed. Those aspects are addressed as part of an official plan amendment zoning bylaw applications, not consents and minor variances.
Okay, thank you. Any other questions of the committee to the planner or the agent? Hearing none, is there anyone present that wishes to speak to this application for or against or otherwise? No, thank you. We have two recommendations on these two applications for deferral. What are the wishes of the committee?
Alan, I'll move to approve.
So that would be on both of them? We have to do them
Yes.
separately.
Okay.
Councillor
We'll start with the
Van Passen?
severance.
Sorry, go ahead, Linda.
We'll start with the severance. I'll move to approve.
Through you, Mr. Chair, and my apologies to Linda. Can we be clear if we're accepting my request for the
1, 2,
changes?
5, 6, 9.
Yeah,
half
so
of 9.
So yeah, one complete of 1, 2, 5, and 6, and then the latter half of 9, please. Thank you.
So
Okay. My recommendation is to approve with removal of conditions 1, 2, 5, and 6, and removal of the reference to site plan in condition 9.
Okay. I'll make a note of that. Councillor Van Passen?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. See, I had those on my notes already about why we're needing those extra conditions. So I will second this motion because I too agree with the interpretation of the rules that this is strictly a boundary adjustment between two neighbors at this time. And that is allowed under the PPS. It says minor. And again, who defines what is minor? And as long as we're not looking, what are those big words again? The quantitative rather than the qualitative. Who decides that? Well, that must be a reason that a committee like this is put in place, because if it's not strictly quantitative, then we don't do it by size, we do it by looking at the big picture. So I'm glad to second the motion from Member Don Crandon.
Okay, thank you. So we'll start with the BNPL 2024319 Arvane Farms Limited. The severance and land conveyance of prime agricultural lands are consistent with the provincial policy statement and they do conform to the Norfolk County official plan and does comply with the zoning bylaw. All those in favor? And that is carried. Thank you. Oops. So I will just make a correction here. So 9, that the site plan associated with the application be final. So we'll just scratch that out. And initial. Okay, thank you. Okay, so next up is file number ANPL 2024-320, Arvane Farms Limited. This is the minor variance, and a mover and a seconder, please, if not the same.
I'll move.
Linda?
Yeah, I'll move to approve.
Lusa, thank you. File number ANPL 2024-320, the application is consistent and with the provincial policy statement 2024 and does meet the 4 tests of a minor variance. All those in favor? That's carried too, please. Oh, give me that one back. Thank you. Okay, thank you. Okay, next up is file number BNPL 2024-376, John William Loftus, and the planner can give the report, please.
Thank you. Through the chair, before we start, we are going to strike conditions 4, 5, and 6. After speaking with the applicant's agent this morning, we are both in agreement that conditions 4, 5, and 6 be removed from the conditions. That having been said,
so just before you go on, because sometimes my sheets are different than your sheets. The 4 is a receipt of the letter from the Secretary Treasurer.
Yes, that's correct.
5 is receipt of a letter from the Building Department.
Yes.
And 6 is a receipt of a letter from Engineering Development.
Yes, that's correct.
Thank you. That's so we're on the same page.
Through the chair to committee, an application has been received to sever a parcel having a frontage of 33 meters, a width of 33 meters, a depth of 63.4 meters, and a lot area of 2,000 square meters or 0.2 hectares. And the retained parcel will have a lot area of 29.93 hectares as the severance of a dwelling made surplus through the farm amalgamation. The consent application is being reviewed concurrently with a zoning amendment for the retained lands to remove a single detached dwelling as permitted use in the agricultural zone. The subject lands are located at 615 Wyndham Road 11. The lands are zoned and designated as agricultural, and the remnant parcel will be continued to be used for agricultural purposes. It is staff's opinion that the proposal meets the definition of a residence made surplus to an agricultural operation, and the proposed lot configuration is limited to a minimum size needed to accommodate the use and appropriate sewage and wastewater services. Sewage and water services. The proposed severance conforms to the provincial planning statement. The proposal also meets the general intent and purpose of the Norfolk County Official Plan and Zoning Bylaw. Therefore, staff is recommending approval of this application with the conditions listed as attachment 1 of the report. I'll now take any questions. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there an agent or applicant present? Okay. Why am I not surprised? Is there any questions of the committee to the planning staff? The agent or applicant, please.
Through you, Mr. Chair, Nathan Colomea once again. I'm the lawyer and agent for the owner applicant, Mr. Loftus. And for this one, I'm pleased to advise, firstly, thank you, Josh, for your report. And further to those amendment conditions, I have nothing to say and ask that you approve the application as amended. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Any questions of the applicant, agent? No? Good. Is there anyone present that wishes to speak to this application for, against, or otherwise? Hearing none, we have a recommendation for approval. The wishes of the committee are Councillor Van Passen is going to make a motion to approve.
A planner did a good report. Nathan Kulamaya has nothing to say, and neither do I, so I'd be happy to move the
We'll just keep on moving along here, right? Okay. And a seconder, please. Lisa? Oh, Phil?
Sure.
You're seconding? Thanks very much.
Yep.
Thanks for coming out. File number BNPL 2024376, John William Loftus. The application is consistent with the provincial policy statement, complies with the policies of the Norfolk County official plan regarding consent to sever policies in the ag zone designation, and meets the intent of the zoning bylaw. And all those in favor? And that's carried. Thank you. Lisa, Linda, and approved. Thank you. Okay, next up is file number BNPL 2024401, Jose and Maria Piera. And the planner can give the report, please.
Sorry. Thank you, through the chair. Through the chair, an application has been received to sever a parcel having a frontage of 70.1 meters and a regular width and depth, and a lot area of 6,009 square meters, and a retained parcel, and to retain a parcel with a total lot area of 66.34 hectares, resulting from the severance of a dwelling made surplus through farm amalgamation. The consent application is being reviewed concurrently with a zoning amendment for the retained lands to remove a single detached dwelling as a permitted use in the agricultural zone. The subject lands are located on the west side of Nixon Road, south of its intersection with Wyndham Center Road. The area of the subject lands, sorry, that's incorrect. Sorry, the area of the subject lands is approximately 66.34 hectares with approximately 1,071 meters of split frontage on Nixon Road. The subject lands are occupied by a dwelling, 3 greenhouses, 2 barns, and several kilns. The proposal seeks to sever the dwelling with the greenhouses, barns, and kilns to be retained. The subject lands are designated and zoned agricultural, hazard lands, and provincially significant wetlands as per the official plan and zoning bylaw. Planning staff have evaluated the proposal, which shows that the proposed severance meets the requirements of a dwelling surplus to the requirements of agriculture. The application would comply with the Planning Act and the PPS. The proposed lot area and dimensions meet the requirements for a surplus farm dwelling lot, as do the retained lands meet the requirements of an agricultural parcel. While it is over the minimum 2,000 square meters required for the surplus farm dwelling severance, it is considered to be at the minimum size necessary to accommodate the frontage, the dwelling, the driveway, septic bed, and well. There is no development in the hazard lands or provincially significant wetland zones, and none is proposed. Planning staff consider the subject application to be consistent with the policies of the Provincial Planning Statement 2024, the official plan, and zoning bylaw. Staff support the application and recommend that it be approved subject to the attached conditions. And I will also make a comment that it appears that the area of the lands has been incorrectly stated either in the retained lands, either in the public notice or in the in my report. I'm not sure which. I will have to look into that and confirm. So I apologize, but my recommendation stands.
Housekeeping. Okay. Any questions of the planning staff of the committee? Is there an agent or applicant? Nathan? Does the agent have anything to add?
Yes, through you, Mr. Chair, again, Ethan Colomeo. I act for the owner applicants, and I just want to thank Kendall for her report, and that I have no comments, and just ask that you approve the application. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Is there anyone present that wishes to speak to the application for or against or otherwise? Any questions of the committee to the agent? We have a recommendation for approval. Can I get a mover? Lisa? And a seconder, please. Linda? File number BNPL 2024-401, Jose and Maria Piera. The application is consistent with the provincial policy statement and complies with the policies of the Norfolk County Official Plan regarding consent to sever policies in the agricultural designation and meets the intent of the zoning bylaw. All those in favor? And that's carried. Thank you. And approved. Pay attention. Okay. File number BNPL 2024-057, Sky Bowen, and the planner can give the report, please.
Thank you. Through the chair to the committee, an application has been received to sever a parcel of land with a frontage and width of 60.950 meters, a depth of 60.950 meters, and a total lot area of 3,710.3 square meters, while the retaining lot has a total area of 29.7929 hectares within the A zone and OP designation. The proposed lot is contained in a wood lot with extensive tree cover. The surrounding uses are predominantly residential and agricultural. The proposed severed lot is vacant with no structures. It is planning staff's opinion that this application be refused. The applicant is seeking to sever a parcel of land that is in the prime agricultural area under the provincial planning statement and designation as agricultural in the Norfolk County Official Plan. This proposal is in direct contravention of both the official plan and of the provincial policy statement for lot creation policies in the agricultural designation. The applicant claims to have a Crown patent, thereby exempting his land from all legislative and policy restrictions of the Planning Act. Planning staff is of the opinion that the applicant's land is subject to all policies of the Planning Act and other pertinent provincial and local legislation and policies. The proposal is wholly inconsistent with the PPS and does not conform with the official plan in terms of agricultural lot creation and therefore cannot be approved. I will now answer any questions. Thank you.
Thank you. Any questions of the committee to the planner? No? Is the applicant or agent present? You wish to speak? Button on the right. There you go.
Mr. Chair, my name is Sky Bowen. I am the owner of the property. I think it's very fitting that we stand in front of the portrait of King Charles, his predecessor, Henry III, granting me the land patent, which is a form of letters patent, which is an exercise of the royal prerogative. Norfolk County is a corporation, a municipal corporation, and it is formed under the Municipal Act. We are here as a result of a bylaw called the Municipal Plan that was passed by Norfolk County. With regards to the Municipal Act, it lays out clearly what the abilities and authority of the county is and what are its restrictions. In Section 14 of the Municipal Act, it says the bylaw is without effect to the extent of any conflict with a provincial or federal act or regulation made under such an act, or an instrument of legislative nature, including an order, license, or approval made and issued under a provincial or federal act or regulation. 2001, Chapter 25, Section 14. I disagree with the planner, Mr. Wallace, who conveyed to me that he did not believe that a patent is a instrument of legislative nature, as referenced in the Municipal Act. However, the Statutory Instruments Act of Canada would beg to differ, as it lists letters patents as statutory instruments, and as such, along with Acts of Parliament, they are legislative instruments, or instruments of a legislative nature. These are still used today by the Governor General. They confer the power to the Governor General in order to act, and also are often used and exercised by the Governor General by right of the King in Canada in order to exercise orders in council. These orders in council have the same effect and force of law as do acts that are presented in the Parliament. Secondly, Norfolk County, operating under the Planning Act, there is no section in the Planning Act, and I've read it through thoroughly, that grants the county the authority to regulate private property. It's not listed in there anywhere. It does state that you can purchase, that the county may purchase property if it wishes to regulate it. This is also confirmed by the Ontario Civil and Property Rights Act. Thirdly, Norfolk County is a corporation. It was incorporated, I believe, in 2001. And as a corporation, it has instruments that are available to a corporation. There's a matter of jurisdiction here that I believe is being conflated here. Norfolk County is conflating a corporate jurisdiction and geographic area. And while Norfolk County might have jurisdiction over the public properties that are invested in it in the public sphere, it does not have the authority to regulate private properties that occur within the geographic boundaries of Norfolk County. They are not one and the same. And that's about it. I recommend that that this is a procedural matter and that you approve it.
Okay, thank you. Any questions of the agent? No? Is there anyone present that wishes to speak to this application? Any comments from planning staff?
I would also like to point out that the applicant's property is in what the provincial planning statement, which overrides any municipal legislation. The provincial planning statement classifies the applicant's land as Class 2 and Class 3 prime agricultural area, and no severances other than what has been laid out before can take place in that prime agricultural area under the Ontario provincial planning statement. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Van Passen.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I listened very intently to that. But if my history lessons tell me Henry III, that was like 1200, 1250, sometime in there, so it's been around for a while. But this whole question is way over my pay grade. Let's the OLT, they can decide what to do with it, so I would move a motion to deny it, and it can be appealed, and somebody that's a whole lot smarter than me can deal with it. So I'd move that it be denied.
I'll second.
Thank you. Thank you. So file number BNPL 2024057 in the name of Sky Bowen. The proposal is inconsistent with the PPS and does not conform to the official plan in terms of agricultural lot creation. All those in favor? And that's carried. Thank you. Refused. This one doesn't get used very often. Okay, last but not least, we always say that. File number BNPL 2024374282888 Ontario Incorporated, and the planner can give the report, please.
Through the chair, staff recommends that application BNPL 2024-374 be deferred to revise the issued notice of public hearing according to the purpose of the application, which is to create one new lot, not 3 parcels.
I'm sorry,
Yeah, I'll say that again. So staff, through the chair, staff recommends that application BNPL 2024-374 be deferred to revise the issued notice of public hearing according to the purpose of the application, which is to create one new lot, not 3 parcels. And I wish to add that the applicant has been notified of the planning staff decision, and the application is scheduled for next month's committee meeting.
Okay, so the deferral you're referring, and the applicant is okay with that?
Yes.
Okay, just to be clear.
Yeah.
Is there any questions of the committee to the planner? Is there an agent or applicant present? There seems to be some confusion. No? Okay. Is there anyone present that wishes to speak to this application? Yes, step right up and state your name for the public record, button on the right of the microphone. Just bring it down to you. That's all right.
I'm not used to big words, so
It's okay.
bear with me. I live next door to, I'm number 50 Mechanic Street, my name's Peter Storchuk.
Okay.
I got a couple of questions.
Can I just state your name for the record, please?
I did, Peter Storchuk.
Sorry?
Peter Storchuk.
Can you spell the last name, please?
Storoschuk, pronounced Storchuk.
Okay, thank you very much. Carry on.
It was passed back on July the 3rd of 24, and we're doing it again. Why?
Planning staff.
Okay, and what this here new one is, they want to make three parcels with a frontage of 8.85 meters. And it's got me confused.
No.
Because you got the same graph I got.
Two parcels.
Well, the thing, that yellow sign said 3.
Okay, well,
Okay, sever 3 parcels having a frontage and width of 8.85, depth of 40.4, and a lot area of 357. Lots 2, 3, and 4, and retain a lot having a frontage and width of 17.7 and a depth of 40.4 and a lot area of 715 in the urban residential zone.
Okay.
I got it. That's four separate.
Right. Okay. So, do you have any other questions?
Yeah.
Okay.
I'd like to know.
We'll just make a note of all of them, and we'll get her to answer all of them at the same time.
Okay. I want to know what it says. Proposed semi-detached dwelling. Is that 2 units on one lot, or is it 1 unit on one lot?
Okay.
And the total number of units on the 4 lots. And yeah, it was okay back in July of the last time we were down here, and now they're changing it. I don't know why.
Okay. Well, we'll get the planning staff to answer those questions for you.
Okay.
Would you like to respond, please?
Yes, I do. Thank you, through the chair. So as explained, the notice that was issued is not accurate or reflective of the purpose of the application. What's being proposed is to create 1 new lot that contains a semi-detached dwelling. So 1 semi-detached dwelling on the retained lot, which would be in this case illustrated, as you can see, like in the plan. Lot 1, Lot 2, as part of severed lands, the total area would be 850 square meters, and the retained land will be the Lot 3, Lot 4, so the total area is 715. So the purpose of the deferral is to revise the notice that was issued. 1 new lot is being created for a total of 4 dwelling units on the current lot of record.
Okay.
Okay, my math on this here is 3 lots at 8.85 meters wide and 1 deferred one at 17.7 meters. You add up those are numbers. Where are we here?
So to be clear, there's 2 lots there now, right?
There's 1 lot.
One lot.
One lot. It's
dividing them into 2.
Yeah.
Then what they typically do is they build the semis, and then they will come back and sever the semis. So that way you have 4 lots with 1 unit per lot. That's how we have typically handled these applications in the past.
Mm-hmm. See, the picture looks almost identical to the one back in July of 24.
Okay. Councillor Van Passen.
I think planning staff can go back a little bit more. I think in July it was council dealing with a zoning bylaw amendment, And that was at the meeting because they're a little too close on the one side or something. So that was council dealing with one part of it.
Okay,
And today they're coming to request splitting the lot in half, and then they're gonna build a semi-detached dwelling on each of those. And if you sever it beforehand, the builders never get it right on the line. So
Oh, I
it's a
know
lot
that,
easier
yeah.
to build it, and then they'll sever it on that boundary line wall in between the two houses. So that's why they want it deferred, because what the sign said was to split it into the 4 lots, but they're changing their mind. We're gonna split it into 2 first, so we have to recirculate, put up a new sign, come back next month, split it in half, build the houses, then come split each of those in half again, so.
It's a process.
So we screwed up on our process a little bit, put the wrong words on the sign, so we're gonna fix that and do it over again. So
not only that, you screwed up on your numbers too, because 3 times 8.85 and the extra one, there's 17 point whatever it is,
yeah.
adds up to,
Well, we'll make sure that that's
See,
all sorted out.
You've
before
caught all
we-
the same mistakes we did, so we
Yeah.
should hire you.
yeah, the numbers don't add up.
Okay,
Yeah, you get it fixed up?
yeah.
We're coming back to this sort of thing again, or what? Want to talk next time?
Okay, you good for now?
I'm good for now.
Okay, thanks very much for coming out. Is there anybody else that wishes to speak to this application in the House? No? Thank you. Any other questions of the committee? We have a recommendation for deferral. Can I get a mover and a seconder, please? Not everybody all at once.
Okay, I'll move to defer.
I'll second.
Thank you. Who was that again? That was Phil. Starting to get a little punchy as we go on here. Okay, file number BNPL 2024-374 has been moved to be deferred. Moved by Phil, seconded by Linda. All those in favor? And that is carried unanimously. Thank you very much. One more item of business here to do. Bear with me. Deferred. Motion to adjourn. Moved by Councillor Berry, seconded by Lisa. All those in favor at 7:31. Thanks for joining, everybody.
Good night.